My parents gave me $50,000 for my wedding. I used it to buy a house and disappeared on the day of the ceremony. I know I'm probably the villain to a lot of people right now, but I don't regret it, not even for a second. My wedding was supposed to be yesterday, everything was planned, the venue, the dress, the guests, the vows, all of it. My mom was crying happy tears just the day before, talking about how beautiful I would look walking down the aisle. Everyone was so excited. Except me. I haven't slept properly in weeks. I felt like I was being shoved into a life I didn't choose. I ignored my gut for months, told myself I was just nervous, told myself I was overthinking. Then I found out he cheated, not just a drunken mistake, it was an ongoing thing, with some girl from his gym. When I confronted him he said it didn't mean anything, no apology, no remorse, just that. And that was it for me. I wanted to scream, to cancel everything, but the pressure was too much. My parents spent so much money, guests had booked flights, everything was ready. I told myself I'd go through with it, fake a smile, survive. But yesterday morning I called an Uber, packed a small bag, grabbed the folder with the house documents, and went to my lawyer's office. I bought a house, by myself, with the money my parents gave me for the wedding. I never went to the venue, I turned off my phone, I didn't even tell my best friend. They're furious, my family, my ex, probably half the town. But I've never felt more free, and that's not even the craziest part. He wasn't the man everyone thought he was charming in public, sweet with my parents, always polite at dinners, but behind closed doors he made me feel small, like I was lucky just to be with him. At first it was just jokes, he called me dramatic, emotional, too sensitive, said I should smile more, lose weight, wear different clothes, stop talking so much. Then he started hiding his phone, going on runs, late at night, coming back smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. I found texts, months ago, hundreds of them, pictures too. Her name was Melissa, they worked out together at the gym. He told her he felt trapped in our relationship, that he wished he could start over. I didn't scream, I didn't tell anyone, I just waited. I played the perfect fiancé, smiled through the planning, let my parents pay for things, told myself I'd confront him, but never did. I kept thinking he'd stop, maybe it was a phase, maybe he'd come clean. He didn't. One night, I asked him straight up if he was happy, and he said, "Yeah, we're good, let's just get this over with." Get this over with, like I was a task, a box to check, a deadline. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling thinking, this is it, this is the rest of my life, and something inside me broke. That's when I knew, I had to disappear. The calls started around noon, first my mom, then my aunt, then his mom. They kept asking, "Where are you? Are you okay?" But I didn't answer, not yet. Then came the texts, the guilt trips, the threats, "You're embarrassing the whole family, people are already arriving, do you know how much we spent?" And my dad, he wrote one sentence, "That's all, you better fix this, or never come back." I stared at that message for 5 minutes, maybe more, and I felt nothing, not anger, not sadness, just silence. He was the same man who told me to follow my heart, to never let a man disrespect me, but now that I was standing up for myself, I was a disgrace. I turned off my phone again. That evening, I sat on the floor of my empty house, no furniture, no Wi-Fi, just a bottle of water and my suitcase, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was drowning. It was quiet, terrifying, and honest. The world thought I was cruel, ungrateful, insane. But the truth is, I was finally free. And that night, something happened that changed everything again. I don't even know how he found the address, maybe from one of my friends, maybe my parents gave it to him, I don't care, but at 11:37 p.m., there was knocking at the door. Not polite, not patient, just constant, angry, pounding. I didn't answer, I just sat in the dark, heart racing, stomach twisted, and then I heard his voice through the door. "Open the door, we need to talk, now." I didn't move. He kept yelling, said I humiliated him, ruined his life, that people were laughing at him, that I made him look like a fool, and then, he said something that made my blood run cold. He said, "That money wasn't just yours, you owe me half, or I swear you'll regret this." That's when I finally stood up. I walked to the door, didn't open it, just stood there and said one word through the wood. "No." And then silence. I waited, not sure if he left, not sure what he'd do next. My hand was shaking, my mind was racing, but in that moment, I realized something. He didn't come here for closure, he came here to control me one last time. And I wasn't his anymore. But I was wrong to think it was over. Because the next morning, I got a letter, and it wasn't from him. Typed, formal, cold, like I was just a stranger now. They were demanding the return of the $50,000, said it was given, in trust, for the wedding, and that my misuse of family assets had caused irreparable emotional and financial harm. In other words, they were threatening to sue me. My own parents. The people who held me as a baby, taught me to walk, celebrated my birthdays, smiled through every school play, now wanted me in court. I called my mom, hands trembling, not to beg, just to understand. She answered, didn't even say hello, just said, "You did this to yourself, don't expect sympathy." I asked if she really meant it, if they were really going to take me to court, and she said, "You humiliated this family, you ran like a coward, we have to protect what's ours. What's theirs?" As if I was just a mistake they were trying to erase. I hung up, sat on the floor, stared at the ceiling, and for a second I felt that familiar pull, that voice in my head saying, "Just apologize, make it right, go back, make them happy." But then I remembered the nights I cried alone, the fake smiles, the weight of everyone's expectations pressing on my chest like a cinder block. And I knew, I couldn't go back. They weren't just punishing me for disappearing, they were punishing me for choosing myself. But I wasn't going to break. If they wanted war, I'd give them something they never expected. And it started with a name they never thought I'd say out loud. Not because he was a lawyer, not because he could fix things, but because he was the only person who ever told me the truth. He was my dad's older brother, the black sheep of the family, the one they all stopped talking to after he refused to lend my dad money for a business idea that failed 6 months later. I hadn't spoken to him in years, but when I called, he picked up on the second ring. He listened, quietly, didn't interrupt, didn't tell me what I should have done, and when I finished, he said 6 words that made my spine straighten. "They've done this before, haven't they?" My heart dropped. He told me things I wasn't ready to hear, how my parents had a pattern, giving money with strings attached, pushing guilt as currency, making everyone feel small when they said no. I wasn't the first, I was just the first to walk away in public. He said he'd help, no charge, no catch, and that the last thing I should do is let them bully me into submission. "You don't need to fight dirty," he said, "you just need to be honest, and let the truth burn." So I started writing. I wrote everything, the cheating, the silence, the pressure, the pain. I wrote about who I used to be and who I was becoming. And I hit publish. Not on Reddit, not on Instagram, but somewhere they'd never expect. The town newspaper's opinion column. And within hours, the phone calls started again, but this time, it wasn't my parents calling me. I didn't put names, I didn't attack, I just told the truth, about the pressure, the manipulation, the cheating, the silence I was forced to live in. It wasn't a rant, it was a confession, raw, ugly, honest. And it hit a nerve. Women I didn't even know messaged me, saying they saw themselves in every word. Old classmates sent DMs saying they never knew I was going through that. One girl wrote, "You just helped me cancel my wedding." But not everyone was proud. My mom called, her voice shaking, "You made us look like monsters." I said nothing. She kept talking, more desperate now, "Do you even realize what you've done? Your father's friends read that, our neighbors think we're abusers, we gave you everything." I asked her one question, "Did you read the whole thing?" Silence. Then she hung up. But it was too late to stop the wave. That night, my ex-fiancé posted a story on Instagram. A picture of him with a broken glass, some dramatic quote about betrayal and narcissists, then tagged me. And in the comments, his friends were calling me names, accusing me of stealing, faking trauma, being crazy like her aunt. That's when I realized, they weren't just trying to ruin my reputation. They were digging for something deeper, something I didn't even know they had access to. Because the next morning, an envelope arrived at my door. And inside was a photo I hadn't seen in 10 years. I hadn't seen that picture since it was deleted from my mom's old phone. It wasn't just a photo, it was a threat. That day, years ago, I had locked myself in the bathroom after my dad yelled at me for embarrassing him at a family dinner. I cried so hard I couldn't breathe, and someone, I never knew, snapped a photo through the cracked door. I thought it was gone forever. Now here it was, printed, glossy, and on the back someone had written, "Careful what you start. We still know who you are." My hands were shaking. This wasn't just revenge, this was psychological warfare. They were trying to remind me of who I used to be, to pull me back into that little terrified girl who never spoke up, who apologized for everything, who let them walk all over her. But I wasn't her anymore. I took a deep breath, grabbed the photo, and drove straight to Uncle David's office. He took one look at it and said, "They're scared. That's why they're doing this." He told me something else, something that made my stomach drop. "They're trying to build a case that you're mentally unstable, that you had a breakdown, that the house wasn't a rational decision." In other words, they wanted to take the house from me. Everything I built, every piece of courage it took to leave, they wanted to erase it with one label, crazy. But I wasn't going down like that. Because I had something they didn't know about, and it was already in motion. I wasn't stupid, I wasn't impulsive, and I definitely wasn't out of control. When I bought the house, I documented everything, every email, every bank transfer, every signature, every voice message from my mom calling it my day, and my money. And more than that, I had texts from my ex, some from years ago, some recent, all painting a picture that nobody saw. There were threats, insults, manipulative voice notes, things he sent thinking I'd never use them. But I kept them all. Uncle David helped me put together a full legal package, notarized proof, copies of every interaction, a psychological evaluation from a licensed therapist I'd secretly started seeing 6 months before the wedding. They wanted to drag me into court. Fine. I'd walk in with fire under my heels. But I wasn't doing it just for me anymore. The response to my column didn't stop. Girls, women, even older women started sharing their own stories. And then, something wild happened. A journalist from a national paper reached out. She said my story had gone viral, that people were talking about emotional coercion, financial manipulation in families, forced weddings, that maybe it was time to expose how often this really happens. I didn't say yes, not yet. But the thought that I could turn my pain into something powerful lit a fuse inside me. They wanted to control the narrative. I was about to steal it back. But first, I needed to face them, face to face, one last time. And I knew exactly where that would happen. They expected me to cry, to beg, to apologize, but I came with folders, facts, fire in my voice and clarity in my eyes. My mom tried to act shocked, like she didn't know about the letter, like this was all a misunderstanding. My dad sat in silence, arms crossed, staring like he could still intimidate me. I placed everything on the table, financial records, screenshots, therapist reports, every receipt from every lie they told the world about me. And then I said it. You wanted to sue me? Try it. I'll bury you in truth. The silence was louder than the fight I expected. My mom looked like she'd seen a ghost, my dad got up and walked out, not a word, not a glance. That was it. No shouting, no final apology, no Hollywood ending, just silence, retreat, and the undeniable realization that they lost control. As I left the house, I didn't look back. They weren't my villains anymore, they were just people, broken, scared, and unable to face a version of me they couldn't manipulate. The girl who used to cry behind locked doors no longer lived in that body. She had burned away. And in her place was someone terrifyingly free. Like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more.